proud of myself for remembering. And let's start with a mindfulness exercise. Yeah. Start noticing your experience in this moment without, see if you can just observe it without changing anything. Maybe there's urges wanting to adjust and change. Now that you've observed it, go ahead and follow the urges or not to follow urges. But I invite you to mindfully follow the urges or not follow the urges. I notice I'm adjusting my legs and my feet. And maybe just some curiosity about our automatic behaviors, actions, urges we do mindlessly. And notice maybe if there's any difference when you catch and notice it and do it mindfully versus just not noticing. Maybe you notice some difference, maybe not. That's all okay. I noticed I just took a deep breath. And before we start the meeting, I'd like to invite you to check in with your system. Do a quick scan. Maybe notice if there is anything that's showing up maybe as signs or cues that your answer might be here, or maybe it's absence of that. You are just here, relaxed, open, to whatever the next moment may bring. If you notice anything tells you that maybe your answer is here, I'd like to invite you to take a moment to appreciate that. Even appreciate this awareness, ability to now recognize your answer being here and helping the only way they knew. If you're noticing absence of those cues or signs, I'd like you to just savor this moment, being present with yourself, with this moment. next, I would like to invite you to come back to this virtual space and let's have a check in if you would like to share your experience.
I can go first.
Lyla, did you say something? I don't think I can hear you.
Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
I can. Yeah. The green box is on.
Yeah. Uh, well, I think this was shared by Siam before. Like when you say like doing a mindfulness, I found myself automatically close my eyes, uh, even though there was no instruction. And you know, at the beginning, I was trying to settle down because of, sorry, a little bit late. And then when you mentioned the automatic system, or the urges, I found I did have the urges to yawn. And I realized that's something I cannot resist. Um, yeah, it's just body reaction. And that's something I realized or noticed. And in the middle of it, because I was watching like Game of Thrones, like again these days. I think it's third time or fourth time. And then I think middle of it, I just started to think of the theme music. And then towards the end, I think I was back and started to notice my body and started to hear the sound around me and then started to recenter. That's it.
Thank you for sharing. Beautiful awareness to
Mhm.
observe this moment.
Mhm.
Um, when we start the mindfulness, the first thing I notice is the taste of the hua mei in my mouth. Because I was sharing with Lise that because this morning my throat has some itchiness, and it's soothed. I feel that it's soothed now. And then, so my first go to is the taste in my mouth. And then I start checking in with my body later on, and I felt that my eyes were a bit tired. And it's been like this for the past few days. And then I feel that my body is a little bit tired. Not a lot, but like a little bit of tiredness that's surfacing as I slow down and notice that. And then I noticed my uh, my legs were crossed as I'm standing, and then I was trying to ask myself to let's try to uncross it and see how that feels. So I was just observing and trying to uncross it and then move it a little bit. And I feel that releasing my legs, I can't really describe it, but it feels different. So I was noticing how that's different for me. Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Beautiful. We can all slow things down and see and yeah, register so much more information if we slow down. I noticed that I needed to adjust my legs. My legs were on the wheels. But yeah, noticing there's some relaxation when I can stretch my legs and just rest them. I was more just aware of some of my answers might show up the past week or so. And so I guess that's where my mind was at. Checking in. Oh, a little bit of leaning forward, a little bit of warmth coming up, a little bit of starting to prepare or do something. And I noticed there was that absence as I checked in this setting, this moment. Just be. As I opened my eyes, I savoring that absence of that needing to do something, tenseness. As I opened my eyes, I almost noticed, like, even before I opened my eyes, a little distance, and I'm a little more removed instead of like soaked in. I didn't change the seating position or anything, but it's just that perception felt like I'm a little bit removed. That's pretty cool. Alrighty. Any questions or reflection from this? Well, I bet you have reflections when we go into reviewing. Any questions that you want to ask now before going into review? Or a big overall feeling about this month's practice?
I have some questions about the video and the book that we go through. So let's see. So in the book, it said that as we are doing the reprocessing, I guess that's a line that I don't really understand what that means. So it's that we give attention to the remediation of developmental defects. So what does that really mean? Yeah, I got stuck there.
Which chapter is that?
I noted down it's page 18. And then it's talking about the changing the identity constructs. I don't know, maybe I was just stuck in the wordings. Yeah.
As the disturbing information is transformed, there's a concomitant shift in cognitive structure, behavior, affect, sensation, and so forth. Clinical experience has shown that once specific memories are reprocessed, the client's sense of self-worth and self-efficacy automatically shifts. This leads spontaneously to new, more self-enhancing behaviors. Yep, the AIP model holds that underlying dysfunctional memories are primarily responsible for pathological personality characteristics and that they can be structurally altered. The theory accurately predicts it is consistent with findings of EMDR clinicians.
I think it's the phrase stop with even severe personality disorder may be amenable.
Amenable to comparatively rapid change through the targeting and reprocessing of key memories and attention to the remediation of developmental defects, deficits. Yeah. I take that. Okay, so even severe personality disorders may be amenable, may be changed, or may be healed to comparatively rapid change through targeting and reprocessing of key memories and attention to the remediation of developmental defects. Deficits. I take that as overall this talking about even just the naming of personality disorders. It's kind of underlying belief is that it's this person's personality. It can't be changed. And that's not true. Like BPD really have very low tolerance of affect and emotions. The behavior of either clinging onto a relationship so tightly and afraid of losing it, or just so quickly not able to trust, and so just like a butterfly dropped on the relationship. So idealization and quickly, or I have to separate from you before you can break up with me. It's like that, those behavior, they are all learned. They are all adaptations. We see them as they must have been hurt badly in interpersonal relationships, or the mixture. We say in the SAFE model in training that our answers are a combination of our DNA, the nature, the DNA, biology, the environment, and our family of origin. Family of origin is also the environment. Maybe the nervous system was sensitive, born sensitive, would feel big things bigger than maybe normal, but then the environment did not validate and hold space for normalize whatever you're feeling is okay. And it's okay to feel it and then right through it, and then the individual's nervous system is feeling a lot and constantly afraid of feeling, and then they adapt to keep running away from feelings or using all different alternatives to manage the emotion. So if we see it as the disorder, the pathology as being rooted in memories, a big tantrum and I was punished for feeling something, or if we could identify the root memories, even so-called developmental deficits, say emotion regulation, clear communication about needs, wants, expressing of emotions, or reciprocal behaviors, reciprocity, clear about boundaries, some you can consider it as, or you can label it as developmental deficits. 18-year-old can't even, communicate clearly about, I just want your help or something. Then EMDR, as long as you can identify the real experiential roots of those memories, then reprocessing those memories, then they can widen the window of tolerance. They can be more in touch of their needs and wants, therefore they can communicate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
And the next thing my thought goes to, the challenge is how to, if you can get to the real experiential roots. Right? Many of these, specifically BPD or people with bipolar, they are just so always activated by present triggers. The breakup 2 months ago, or their life is constantly filled with chaos, and they don't think the whatever 5-year-old experience of being punished by dad or something, that was their real root. So therefore, the safe approach, the way we work with the system, finding the root under the answer, gives us a better chance. Does that mean 100%? But and the answer concept, we're always looking for what's underneath the answer. If one answer consistently show up, try to do something, try to protect, there must be real painful, vulnerable experience underneath that, driving this need. So we can be curious, oh, you're so good at cutting other people off before they have a chance to do it. I wonder how you became so. Just this curiosity and always looking for what's underneath, what's driving the answer. That helps us to get to the real roots.
Thank you so much, Lise. Because I sometimes I get stuck with these wordings. But then as you were elaborating on that, I think that's something that we always talk about, is to get to the roots of answers and explore with the client what exactly is their developmental experiences that lead to those answers or related to the memories. I have another question. When I was reading the book, there is a sample EMDR session, and after each set, the therapist would ask the client to let it go, and then ask, "What do you get now?" So I see that that's quite different from what we are told to say, go with it. So I'm wondering, what's the function of asking the client to let it go, and what do you get now? And if that was like an earlier version of the reprocessing, and it's
Yeah,
it's the first time I see that. So
yeah. It is just wording. It's a little bit different. Probably earlier versions of that, and many therapists or clinicians still do either say "let it go" or take a deep breath. my now, so I shared this saying that the Chinese saying 拳打千遍身形自现, right? You follow the standard protocol, you practice with this many of clients, then you start to really get the gist, get the essence of the standard protocol. Then when you make adaptations, you know why you're doing that. So for me, if as said, the client is really sucked in the I usually use this side as disturbance or trauma memory, this side as my adaptive memory network. You've noticed the client is really sucked in the disturbance, not necessarily out of window tolerance, but maybe at the very edge. And the purpose of each time checking in, right, is to help them still grounded, come back and be grounded in the present and being able to report as the observer. So the wording, let it go, let that memory go, or let that disturbance temporarily go for a moment. Let's check in this present moment. That makes sense. And again, does that need to be said every set? No. I only maybe use that when I see it's truly needed. They are at really close to the window of the bar, the owl. Right? And you will know that when they try to give you a present moment check-in there, I'm just so whatever. They are so in that first person narrative, in that disturbance, even during this, what are you noticing? You can sense their presence with me right now is slipping. And sometimes also helpful to just is invite them. Again, we're not saying take a deep breath. We invite, would it be okay to breathe with me? I've seen people being triggered in training, just the therapist saying, take a deep breath. I'm getting angry at you. My mom or my dad always told me to take a deep breath, but I just can't. You don't know when we are not mindful of our words and this is the principle of nonviolence. I'm always inviting instead of directing. So I do sometimes, I rarely say let it go, but I do sometimes, some sets, invite them to, would it be okay to breathe with me? And what do you notice now? But really not needed. And if we teach it in the basic training this way, it's going to be overused. The therapist is going to be getting in the way of client accessing.
Yeah. It's more like an add-on flexibility if we see needed.
You see that, use that as an interweave, right? The client too. It's great you are accessing, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed and completely sucked in, right? Yeah, just enhance that presence a little more. Great question.
Thank you for elaborating that.
Now you are really starting to have a more nuanced appreciation of the protocol.
Yeah.
It's scripted, and yet there's a lot of subtle clinical decisions.
Yeah. And also feel that when I was working with client that the phrases are more like a mindset that we have. But how we do that can be more flexible sometimes.
Yeah.
I still have 3 more questions. Is it okay if
Go ahead.
Okay. So, and this one is from the video where Dad was sharing that sometimes the appearance of sadness is usually where the answer steps aside. And but for clients whose answer is an emotional one, showing of deep sadness could be outside of their window of tolerance. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Um, I don't remember exactly where that was in the video. I was,
Uh,
and probably may not remember even. You give me some hint. I generally,
yeah.
when people get through a reprocessing after the initial whatever shock, fear, big anger, that those appropriate emotions that fits the event or the initial event, there is always a deep sense of sadness and grief. Whatever I didn't want, I got too much. Whatever I really needed, and I never got it.
Mm.
Grieving how my life was not, didn't, wasn't the one I truly could have or needed. There's a lot of grief when it comes to kind of processing the initial raw material, then this perspective that, wow, that little girl, right? So in the sense, the deep sadness, if the client, often that's what most people avoid feeling.
Mm.
Truly sense of, it's just so sad. A 4-year-old, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Couldn't get her needs met or something. Or just wasn't able to defend herself or blah, blah, blah. So it's just really sad. And that impacted the rest of my life. Decades later, I'm still carrying that. So there's that deep sadness. If that deep sadness is truly being felt, that's almost always never out of the window towers. That's genuine human grief. But I'm guessing what that was referring to could be someone that they are always wrapped in their big emotions, and they would be, it's almost a different cry when you're in that deep sadness. You're just feeling really low and kind of quietly tears rolling, occasionally a little choking maybe, that just feeling it deeply in it. But then the emotional crying could be a lot of more louder and almost never ending, and it's wrapped in it, and the person's narrative is always the first person. I just couldn't get out. I blah 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 blah. It's, you can tell that difference. This is a stuck in, running in circles and stuck in that cloud or a ball of that, and there's not real movement. But this genuine sadness, if you go with a deep, quiet, several sets, it's really unfortunate. It's really sad. And I survived it.
Mm.
So that kind of an emotional cry
Mm.
can be a sign that they are out of window tolerance. They are just, trapped in that cloud.
Mm.
Maybe an interweave could be, wow, noticing a lot. What I'm noticing, a lot of activation. I'm not even calling that sadness. Notice that. I've noticed just a lot of. I don't even need to give a label. What are you noticing? Can you observe from this observer seat? I'm noticing. They may not even be able to really report from the observer's perspective. I never wanted that. They go right into that first person narrative. I might offer, could we label that as feeling hopeless, feeling really stuck, or feeling really resentful, or I can offer something, or even we don't need the perfect label. Can you see you, that younger you, was stuck in that for a long time? Would you be able to observe and go with that?
Mm.
So differentiating two different ways of expressing or showing sadness. Does that help?
Yeah, it really helps. And I think, as you were saying that, I did recall sometimes there's difference between the two. Like there's very emotional, like a client just lying on the ground and wasn't able to sit up, and was shaking. And it feels like it's outside of the window of tolerance instead of there's a real flow of energy or feelings in them that help them to process the grief that they felt. And I guess sometimes it's just need to be case by case and based on the experience of feeling the nuance of what's the difference between there's really a flow rather than there's a stuckness there. And I think sometimes that's also when I see, when I hear that we're sharing this part, I feel that the way of distinguishing between the two can be difficult sometimes and very nuanced.
Yeah, exactly. The context, what you know about the client, what kind of memory they are working on. Maybe it's appropriate to be stuck here, and as you continue to reprocess the bilateral stimulation, and they just need to get through that. And we don't have to be the only one to know the answer. We could always introduce a question. I'm wondering if this feels like you are stuck in that, or if this is what needed to be expressed. then move on. I don't know. Collaboration, that invitation, brings clients reflective and observers perspective online, right? And all the previous psychoeducation and our talk, educating about AIP and what is reprocessing, 1 foot in the present, 1 foot in the past. I wonder if you are still here with me, observing, noticing the memory, or you feel you are all in. So some, really depends, and trust your attunement in that moment when you are really connected with the client.
And my next question is a terminology question. As in the video, I hear that we're sharing about cognitive restructuring. And I wonder if that's the same as cognitive interweave, or cognitive restructuring is more like a umbrella term in the reprocessing.
Did Deb talk about that as what the therapist support or do, or it's just that's the client naturally going through and their cognitive belief about themselves and the relation with the world naturally gets shifts.
Let me pull up the... Okay, so it's talking about a paradigm shift of encouraging sadness. And it says that the therapist noticing procedural patterns of wanting the client to feel better or making the client feel better with cognitive restructuring.
So that's actually what we want to avoid doing in EMDR.
Okay.
In the CBT world, CBT, DBT, and in many of those cognitive top-down, we are, see, this is what's helpful. Let's make a plan, and you believe yourself this way and practice this skill. And no, this is what we need to unlearn and really sit back, trusting the client going through whatever experience they haven't fully processed, and they're going to arrive there.
So meaning that the cognitive restructuring is not something that we ask the clients to do, but that it's like more of the outcome of the reprocessing.
Yeah, we stay out of the way. You have experienced that many, many times, right? You stay out of the way. And the client just reporting and hearing themselves reporting that's a powerful intervention already. Even though we just go with that or notice that the client is their system. Yesterday, one of the participants, that was beautiful, that they had many, many voices in their head. Like during the reprocessing, it's almost like this, but this, and the therapist just go with that. This is the first 3 days of basic training. Go with that. Go with that. Some point, the therapist looked at me. Do I need to go to the target? Go with that. Go. Just go. And they kept going, and the client actually just keep moving, and those voices more coming to a consensus or fading away, and they're just able to move through all that. And I know there's always some anxiety of did this really work? And it's okay. I trust what I feel right now.
Mm.
So the therapist stayed out of the way. Just go with that. That's what I'm getting. We're unlearning all that. Therapist actively making something happen.
Mm. My last question. So when this is when that was talking about resourcing versus reprocessing. So it was said that when the client was overwhelmed and activated, then we need to stop at the resourcing stage because it's no longer resourcing but reprocessing. So does that mean that at the beginning preparation phase, as we are doing the resourcing with the client, we still go to certain places where it would activate that system, but at a lower level as we're doing the practice.
So think about this way. The most powerful and effective way to help them heal bottom up is the reprocessing phases. Right? We identify the target and we go in all the way in, clean everything up. So then when you're resourcing, a memory is talked about, brought up, or even a present trigger is brought up. If this is, I know this is still resourcing, we're not quite ready. For whatever reason, we're not quite ready to go into the finding the root under the answer and start with the earliest target. My mind is that we don't need to open up the whole time capsule. It's good to use this moment, a bit of activation and shift state. And that builds confidence. Oh, even though a moment ago, 5 minutes ago, I can feel all this, and I can still reliably, consistently come back to a more resource and regulated state. So the two networks, adaptive network, trauma network, the adaptive network is always there, even though temporary. When I'm dragged in, I feel like, I can never come back. Now resourcing is helping me to remember and trust. With a little bit of guidance from my therapist, I can come back. That builds the readiness for going into reprocessing.
Okay.
Right?
Good.
Even though we identify the target, we're not opening it up for whatever reason. Logistical, the session's coming to an end, or we're still waiting for the doctor to give some feedback on if whatever medical reason, we're not going into reprocess. With that said, there could happen that going into a session, I think I'm still resourcing, but in the moment where we're kind of at this fairly early of the session, I think you are ready. What do you think? Shall we, if this is also connecting to the earliest one, shall we just go in and see, right? But there's a clear distinction, right? The most effective way to clean up is still the reprocessing.
So as we are doing the preparation or resourcing part, even if we identify the target, we just take note of that. And which it might come up later on in the reprocessing,
Yeah.
but we're not going into that, and helping them to reorient.
Use container pendulation, the state shift resources,
State shift.
right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much. These are all my questions.
Yeah, good question. That's why it's important to really get through the videos and the book while you are still with me. It's different ways of learning. You practicing, you reviewing the manual or the worksheets, you working with clients and bring clients' case, and you pull back and kind of more intellectual level reflecting and reviewing that video. There's many different ways of learning and enhancing what you have learned. A lot of integration. How are you doing, Lyla, on the book and the?
I'm still starting. I guess it's the language difference. So even though I'm reading it, I've finished several chapters, like the clear different channels and stuff. But it's slow. I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah. It is a real barrier. I wonder if there is a Chinese version. There could be.
you.
So feel free to look up for that. Of course, my problem solver is here, and I think it's pretty appropriate to problem solve with you right now. Another alternative could be my consultant offered that to us too. You two maybe share a Google Doc and do some notes, like you do this chapter, you do this chapter, and quickly scan, read through, but take down some notes, then meet and reflect, like a book club of you two people. That may have the content register more with your brain than just reading it by yourself, and it's a second language. And that way you feel free to split the book. You do these chapters, I do these chapters, take notes, even though you didn't read through this chapter, but you can see my notes, and we can talk it through and connect all the outline of the book. It doesn't have to really be extensive notes. Just try to pull back and really get the big ideas or the main concepts. Because this is something you're already doing. You already have a lot of knowledge or intuition of it. You're just kind of reviewing the book as Francine introduced it. Does that feel like something would be helpful?
You can do that.
Yeah. I'm noticing the time. How about a 5-minute break, then we come back and review the video. Okay. See you in 5. All right. Second half. How about Lyla? You start first.
Okay. So when I was in session with Xiang, first, I realized there was a automatic analysis jumping out. Whilst Xiang started to illustrate her I'm trying to keep the video. So,
Can you start with the reflection form, then go into where you want to show us?
oh, okay. So in this session, we started with a phase reevaluation, and then we did, according to our treatment plan, we chose one module, and then we did a phase 3 assessment and phase 4 desensitization, and then phase 7 conclusion. It's an unfinished session, but the time was up. In the cognitive interviews I did, was when finding clients cognition and positive cognition. I remember when finding the negative cognition, Xiang said, it's a bad thing to want to win. And feels like it's more like an issue or matter instead of more towards personal belief. So I did a cognition by asking, what does that say about you? And then Xiang changed it to, I'm not a good person, or I'm not a good person because I wanted to win. So I think it's more related to the personal negative cognition. So that's why I did one interweave. And when finding the positive ones, Sia said several. It's okay to want something. There's nothing wrong to want to win. So I did another interweave. As for all of my clients, when they have multiple services or multiple cognitions coming up, then I always like to let them feel which one you have the strongest emotion, like most charged, and then we will choose that one. So we did that. And
So, what was the positive cognition you landed on?
positive cognition is the first one. It's okay to want something. And when Xiang was oh sorry, go the question first. And then what I did well is I let the channels flow without rushing, even though I had my doubts. And then I gave the client more time to go through their own processes. There were several times I was thinking, okay, is she dissociated? Like, because sometimes Sion's reaction is, I don't know, nothing. Like, and then every time when there's nothing coming up, I was like, okay, so is that a yes or first a yes, or she's not here, or when that happened to some of my clients as well, when I can't do anything, or I don't think, and I can't, like literally there was nothing. So I was thinking, should I take it as yes, or should I check words? So in this case, with Sia, I decided to go, okay, let's go another set and see if she's coming back, or if we're gonna be active, or yes or no. And so I didn't really ask or do any other cognitive way. Yeah, so just give it more observations and let it flow. And I think another thing I did well, I didn't write it down, but it's the channel clearance. Like when uh, when when the one set of BLS is done, I really really go to check the scores. But instead, okay, let's go with that. And back to, after back into the original memory. And what you would change, what I would change?
Did more come up for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, more came up.
Yeah. Um, when there was work coming up, that was actually quite surprising because it wasn't like, clear. And so I'm glad I didn't rush through or thinking that it's actually clear. And what I would change if I did it again, nothing much, but I would try to make my arms moving more straight. I realize sometimes it's really hard to keep it a straight line, but more of like this, either downwards, upwards. But but it's just I think it's something you can't really avoid because you are using your elbow as the center and then you do this. It's meant to be clock, like a clock. It's really hard unless you move your whole shoulder. So
This
yeah.
is this is what we teach, especially for in person.
Mm,
If your arm is hanging, like see this weight is out, it is weighing down, and you try to move this. This is hard on the shoulder, but if you pull it really parallel to your body, this is less taxing for your shoulders, shoulder and your muscles. Just our arm is meant to reach out and stay for a long time.
um,
But yeah, I'm just gonna make a quick comment about mechanics. With virtual, you can move the camera quite close, right? And as your finger is just really close to the camera, you don't have to move a very wide range, and appears to be very straight.
Mm.
But you're also welcome at this point to experiment with on-screen tools if you want. Maybe the bilateral stimulation.io is the one I use. So next recording, if you want to save some arm, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you, Liz, for the tips. And the next question is know that anyway you didn't follow the standard protocol. Yes, when we did the closure, normally with the protocol, like I should do a container exercise. But Xiang seems like she didn't want to do the container exercise. So I gave her another resource that's not in the standard protocol. So that's where I went off. And then how did your clients answer? It's not good. It is okay to do something. It feels like this statements coming up again and again, repeatedly. And I would say that's the client's answer. And
Did you say, I see you wrote in phase 3.
yeah,
Okay.
phase 3 assessments, like
Okay.
sorry, positive and negative cognitions.
That's phase 3.
Phase 3 assessment. And then what did my answer showing up versus the hesitation, as I mentioned, it's when I was judging either it's a distraction, dissociated, it's like dissociation, or should I continue? And also in the phase 3 assessments, when Xian was talking about her memory, I started to think, her memory was that's when she was 5 or 6 years old and played badminton with her mom. And her mom called her a stronger player. And she felt bad because and accused her of just wanting to win or wanting to win too much. And she felt bad about it. When Xiang was talking about this story, I don't know, I just had this automatic or judgment or my own my own assessment in a way, because Xiang said, oh, I'm not a good person, or it's a bad thing to want to win. But she also mentioned later on, it's like my mom stood there, felt that she saw through me. And then I was thinking maybe it's not about I'm not a good person. And maybe it's because once we feel other people see through us, we don't feel safe. So that's my own judgments or assessments, or my own thoughts just came up. And I had the urge to lead her or the negative cognition being I'm not safe instead of I'm not a good person. So when she was saying, oh, it's a bad thing to win, I'm not a good person, I really had this urge to say maybe it's not like you're not safe, or maybe like when other people notice or see through my true intention, that or I feel ashamed, or again like not safe. So I was in my mind, I was like, I'm not safe. This statement is constantly merging up. Um, so I would say this is my answer showing up because I wanted, but it doesn't mean I am right, because for Xiang, that's her feeling, her story, and her cognition,
Yeah.
and only my judgment.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say, in terms of the answer, I would say my opinions. I was trying to suggest. I was trying to make people thinking, like what it could be, like the a word my way. So I would say this is the big part of my answer showing up. And, but I didn't do that. But still,
Act on the urge. Yeah.
the urge.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's it.
Um, isn't that beautiful that you had enough awareness when you catch what's going on here inside you, and the notice the urge, and just enough awareness, enough pause before you automatically acted on it, or even you did offer and you didn't insist. I I might have some perception and I offer, and whatever she says, I'll take it because it makes sense for her system. Doesn't matter about if it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So this is, and the earlier what you mentioned, I just want to say it's the growth. This is a big growth edge or growing edge for you, that notice your urge wanting something or trying to do something, not necessarily holding it back, but just a pause and one more set. Let the client do whatever. Oops. One more set, two more sets. My perception may not be what the client needs. And the more I will say, the more you are attuned with the client, the more you are familiar with your own stuff showing up in sessions, the more you are just sticking with the clients, not being distracted or so pulled away by your stuff. It takes just more practice and more awareness. But this is really great. We say the best interwaves are the ones that I thought of and never had to use, and the client got there by themselves. Right? Because we are nearing the end of our 10 months, I'm going to be a little picky on some of these things. I want you finish this being really clear about these concepts and word phrases when you are talking about this with other clinicians or when you seek further consultation. I saw you mention interwave in phase 3 assessment. That's not called interwave. Even when you are asking her, what does that say about you? If it's not okay to want to win, it's not good to want. Interwave specifically refers, cognitive interweave specifically refers to when you are in reprocessing sessions. The client system is already processing. We are interjecting or introducing something to assist the reprocessing going. Phase 3 is not a reprocessing phase. Is that clear?
Got it. So it's only in phase 4, the
4,
sensitization.
5, 6. These
Oh.
are the reprocessing phases. That's why our bilateral stimulation is fast, long sets.
Phase 4 and 5.
4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the purpose of phase 3 assessment is to flip on all the switches, 7 switches, as fast as you can. We're not exploring. We're not having conversations. This is you, the pilot, already in the cockpit. Flip on all the switches and the engine is roaring and ready to go. And I also noticed, so is this clear?
Yes.
Yeah. The next one I want to point out is you reflected on the client's answer showing up while you are in phase 3. That's not what this question is asking about. Phase 3, the purpose of phase 3 is to assess how the old memory is being stored in the client system right now. So whatever we're digging out, pulling out of the time capsule, a mess of yarns or network, we're picking out negative cognition, image, body sensation, how disturbing it does feel, emotion, that's exactly what we're doing to activate the negative network, the disturbing network of how the memory is stored now. That doesn't count as when the client's answer is showing you. We're really, this question is asking about if you are in reprocessing session, the answer is showing up to interfere or keeping the client from accessing or processing or moving along. Or in reevaluation, you're checking in, the client is, let's say, minimizing. Oh, yeah, it's all fine. I'm pretty good. But then later they, oh, yeah, that thing happened. That was just so upsetting. Forgetting or minimizing. Talking about all about others and not really coming to recognize what's here for them. So that's just a couple examples. That's we are noticing how the client answers. The usual pattern of managing is showing up in treatment, but not really phase 3. Could be in phase 3 that we're seeing almost big activation, but they are reporting SUD 3. Okay, we just noticed that could be an answer. Even really big, the face is red and the tears are rolling and holding, and they're saying 3. This happens with the first responders or clients that has been so good at minimizing their distress level. We're noticing, oh yeah, that's probably what that helped.
Thank you, Liv, for the clarification.
Yeah. Another thing I did notice in your transcript was that as you asked what's the worst part or what the image represents the worst part of the memory, you know that the client described on badminton court and feeling embarrassed. That's the image. We don't need a label for it. We just refer back to it as the image. The only place we asked for a label is the end of phase 2. finding the root under the answer, because we are just labeling each time capsules. We're not opening it up. That's where we ask, is there a specific moment in time? Do you have a few words, a title we can refer back to?
Liz, I actually have a client right now I'm dealing with. And then when we were talking about we were finding the worst image that can represent her memory, and she said, okay, it's more like an adult film, like sex related. And I said, okay, if you're not comfortable of telling me all the details, keep it to yourself.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. She has image. We don't even need a specific label. We just call it adult film to refer to that. That's fine. She doesn't need to describe it to you.
Yeah, so that's when I told her, okay, you can name a label, but that's fine, right?
Yeah, even if just when she gave you that adult film, and we can kind of check with the client. That's a specific image, specific moment in time, even though it's not necessarily an actual moment in the memory. It's just a perceived. It's completely dark, so cold, something alone. Kind of constructed image when I think about the memory. That's good enough. So we just want the client being able to have a specific image. And we never really describe the image ever again. We just refer to it as it's only in phase 3 we bring up, when you bring up that picture and these words, notice disturbance in your body and go with that, right? We only refer to that image.
Okay. So I don't really need to get a name, but that image.
Yeah. But if the client said, I don't want to describe it, but I do have that image, that's perfect. We don't even need that label. So this is why also this assessment phase, you want to go as fast as you can. The moment you bring up, do you have a specific image represents the worst part? Yeah, let's just call it or whatever. And to the last instruction you're giving, bring up that image, note and those words, I'm bad. Notice this disturbance in your body, go with that. From that to that, it's really, you want to be as close together as possible. Flipping on the engine, all the flips, the switches, go. You don't spend 10 minutes talking about. If you can just get it set up while in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, go. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. Any questions or any area you want clarification or anywhere from the video you want to show me? I did review this transcript. A bit of curiosity as I was reviewing. This also is, I'm just checking with Yeung. I was curious. There's something about this memory, it's so interesting. Yeung, in the reprocessing, you did link to some earlier memory realization, though I don't remember the exact wording. somehow all realizing how I'm so defensive or reactive to mom's lecturing is maybe because I feel always been left alone, left out by my family. And they always compare me to brother, and he's older, he's whatever, smarter, whatever. And I feel they are there. I'm always out here. So that really made me wonder if even being competitive is the answer out of that painful, vulnerable experience, being compared to being left out by your family.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a part that contribute to that answer, of wanting to be. I think it's wanting to be seen through my achievements, so it can feel that I can belong in that way.
When they compare me to brother, always he's better, I'm not as good, right? And I have to achieve more.
Yeah.
Have some results to show you I'm actually as good or even better. Why can't you praise me as much as you praise him? Yeah. Then this is a great example that even though this memory came up as you finding the root under the answer, but still now as you are working on the memory, you can recognize this is just working on the answer. This memory is your answer doing its job, being defensive, reactive to mom, and wanting to be competitive. So whether you recognize it during the session or totally didn't recognize it, but maybe later on, if you do catch it and recognize as a clinician, what I would do is to really have a conversation with the client and redirect maybe we should target those memories. Being left out by family, being compared to brother and feeling I'm less than. I'm not good enough. What are you noticing with both of you?
I feel when this you were proposing the competitive possibility as having a sister. So I feel, yeah, maybe I was starting to think things used to happen between me and my sister. I guess, yeah, I feel maybe it's the same when for people who grew up in multi-children environments between siblings where you do have this sense of competition or the urges to excel stronger than a single child.
Especially the younger one, right? I'm always younger and not as good, and the older one. And but I feel like the expectation is always that I just can't meet that. Sounds like you can relate to it.
Yeah.
But this is a great example that we thought we are working on the root experience, right? And it can, if you become aware and being curious, this finding the root under the answer, this principle is always there throughout the treatment. It's never too late to, ooh, the juicy part is underneath this. Can we pause? Or maybe we should pause this and dig a little deeper in the real root. So even finding the root under the answer, that worksheet you did twice at the beginning, that's not the end of your looking for what's underneath the answer, if this is the answer. Yeah, and even without realizing that client system, she was making some of that connection. That's beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking for now.
I noticed that as at least you were sharing about that we can go deeper into the answer, I switched to the learning mode. That how does that work? What would it be like in the therapy process? And yeah, having like picturing different scenarios, how that might happen. Yeah, so I noticed that's what come up.
And really, the learning is never ending. We learn with each client. And all mistakes are truly opportunities to learn more. This is not, I won't, really label it as a mistake. It's truly just we explore, and the moment we become aware or curious, could this be? And then we can change direction. We check in with the client. And then, there's a consent, or there's a, I think you might be right. Let's try that.
And I wonder if, for example, if the root came up during later reprocessing phase, like in installation when we're already going to the PC or even the body scan, do we still do the same process of checking in with the client and then possibly going there first and then come back to the regional one? Okay.
Really, we just relentlessly looking for what's the real vulnerable experience driving the answer. And when we do get to the real root, a lot of later memories may not be an issue anymore. See, and we don't have time to review a whole video. I do want to, give you a chance if you have any where you want to reflect on or question about this round of practice.
I was just noticing that during the process this month and also last month, I noticed that sometimes Lyla do distract a little bit, or like I notice her eyes go to other places or taking a pause and then returning to the movement. And it seems it's just like an observation. I don't really have noticed a pattern yet because it's just 2 sessions. But I noticed that the distraction is more frequent than before when we are doing the processing. So I'm just curious what that might be because as I was checking in with Lyla after those distraction in the set, and she was saying that she felt quite comfortable. She don't really feel that that's like any physical discomfort that might need a break. Yeah, so I was noticing that, and it's something that sparked my curiosity.
I'm curious as you're asking this question or as you kind of reflecting on this, what's your hypothesis? What's your initial hypothesis?
I don't really have a very concrete hypothesis. There's many different possibility that I'm thinking. One thing is that touching on something that pop up during the set that's intrusive that might need that distraction. That's one of my hypothesis. And
Stress and the distraction is the answer to distract from the distress. Yeah. So that
yeah, that's
possibility.
yeah. And then another one is I was just wondering if we're already quite close with each other. We have built a relationship, and this felt familiar. This whole process felt familiar. So it's just I don't know, sometimes drifting off and then coming back to maintain that momentum of let's keep going on in an exercise that we both felt quite familiar.
Basically, her system is done with the channel and she's bored.
Yeah, exactly. Bored.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah. Or
We're not, what are
impatient
we looking for
sometimes.
here? It's all clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also valid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Right.
Yeah. Basically, these are some of my thoughts.
Would you like to check in with your client?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
See if she confirms one or the other or she offers a different
Yeah. What do you think?
possibility.
To be honest, I think I was just too immersed into that memory came out. So I didn't, so I stopped looking at the finger.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
I am still in the process. I'm still
Yeah.
processing. Just
More. Yeah. In it.
just drift. It's not drifted or distracted, or sort of distracted, but I'm more into the memory and sometimes the
Mhm.
voice, sometimes body sensation. So when
Yeah.
Sia was checking on me, I said, "I'm fine. I'm still. I feel comfortable, because it's well, because I know I'm still processing,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
as I know it's going.
Yeah.
But I think that's one time, because I'm just thinking
Uh-huh.
and like too engaged with my own memory. I
Uh-huh.
forgot Beyond's
Yeah.
finger distance. And there were times, I think a session before, guess I was hungry. So that
Yeah,
that
I
was
remember.
Okay.
another distraction back then. And
Uh,
but this session, I really and until you proposed this question, I didn't really remember
Mhm.
I was distracted or dissociated.
Mhm.
uh,
What do you notice now, Siang?
I notice, oh, this is not something that I've thought of. And I'm glad that I asked, or I'm glad that
Yeah.
I know that it because I recognize that from my own experience, it can be challenging to both go inward and then notice something that's going on outward. Just like when we're doing mindfulness, it's less distraction when we close our eyes than open our eyes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I resonate with that, and also I'm just so glad that I asked, so I know more.
Yeah. And I'm glad you didn't stop her like really in the middle of the process. It seems like things were moving and you didn't have to investigate this, right? Didn't really
Yeah,
get in the way. A
yeah,
brief distraction or whatever. We think it's distraction, but she was actually in the, so things kept moving. That made sense.
yeah.
Unless it's getting in the way, we are not going to try to intervene in the middle of reprocessing. Yet, you can always talk about it or be curious about it at the end of the session or when you reevaluate and come back. That's all the, yeah, really good time to really reconnect with the client and learn about this process. We're all observing things happen. Yeah, we can talk about what just happened. Debrief. Good. That's the end of our time. For next month, I would like you to identify something coming up. It can be a present trigger that will or may happen again, or anything that you anticipate coming up may have a little challenge or your answer, or you're not as feeling comfortable coping with it, and use future template protocol.
Sorry, this that means we start from
Still phase 8 reevaluation, and using this session instead of going back to the original whatever memory you're working on. So since this thing is coming up, we're using the future template protocol as a standalone protocol to help you prepare this future scenario. You spend a few minutes talking about the future desired states when it comes up. What's your old pattern of reacting or showing up? How would you like it to be different? How do you want to react, behave, feel differently? Really kind of paint a picture of the movie, or kind of give a structured script of the movie, identify the positive cognition, then go into running the movie. Okay. If one more thing I can say, that next time I'm gonna review the reflection form, but I'm not gonna review the transcript or the video. I'd like to really draw the boundary here. You bring in whatever you need to ask, to show me, to clarify. So in future consultations after these 10 months, the consultants are not going to put in extra time before consultation meeting, like if you do book other future consultations, you use this hour, 2 hours, to ask, to present, to get what you need. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.